perché la quantità di interrelazioni dentro la quale viviamo non è rappresentabile in maniera così schematica, così semplice, elementare. E in questo libro lui ci indica tutta una serie di sistemi di correlazioni di fronte ai quali
In this book,
dobbiamo porci,
he deals with
che
a
sono
series
quelli che
of
dobbiamo affrontare. E li
systems
dobbiamo affrontare con
that
quali
we need
strumenti?
to
Sicuramente lo
deal with.
strumento della conoscenza,
No,
perché non è che fare dieta mediterranea significa ridiventare agricoltore povero dell'Italia degli anni 50. Cioè, nessuno di noi vuole proporre questo modello. Non so chi è che lo raccontava, che lo ricordava fra ieri sera, stamattina, forse Girolamo, Gigi Cusimano, che diceva, ma attenzione, la dieta mediterranea alla fine è un'invenzione concettuale di un americano, si chiama Ansel Keys, che negli anni 50 studiò un modello alimentare di una serie di paesi, il famoso Seven Nation Study, alla fine del quale decise che il modello alimentare dell'Italia meridionale, poi lui si stabilì a Pollica, comprò una casa e andò a vivere lì, tanto gli piacque, era quello più salubre. Ma negli anni 50 a Pollica come si viveva? Si viveva in assoluta povertà. Vivendo in assoluta povertà si viveva in maniera assolutamente moderata, al contrario della bulimia, per l'appunto. Si viveva in un sistema complesso, perché oggi c'è il pomodoro, domani c'è il grano, dopodomani ci sono le lenticchie o i ceci o i fagioli o un'altra cosa ancora. Noi siamo
1, 2,
abituati
3.
al nostro schema alimentare, un nostro modello di consumi totalmente destagionalizzato, molto semplice. Il pomodoro lo compro sempre, o fresco, o trasformato, come che sia, la frutta la trovo sempre. Il modello commerciale ha ulteriormente semplificato questa dimensione della nostra vita, che invece a Pollica negli anni 50 era il modello che faceva i conti con la disponibilità. La comunità si adattava al territorio avendone di ritorno quello che il territorio offre giorno per giorno. Non solo, ma una comunità di quel tipo aveva nel suo territorio la sua unica ricchezza. Non lo
Such a community had its own richness. It took care of that territory, and the territory integrity was a life opportunity that was based on the territory potential in order to develop growth strategies. Overpopulation Natale, when we were 20 years old, the demographic growth was considered a serious problem. If we keep growing, the world will not be able to bear such a situation. In developed countries, the population is not growing. Therefore, let's give a prize to women. Let's support them in order to do so that the population will keep growing, and that the growing population may give a boost to the whole world. Even though we are talking about sustainability, pattern changes, social changes, a conversion to renewables, conversion to healthy diet, but we forgot that the process that will take us to have 10 billion inhabitants in the world by 2050 is not sustainable at all. We know that inequality in terms of development entails different attitudes. The poorer we are, the more we reproduce ourselves and the other way around. Therefore, I'm not saying that the Mediterranean diet may help us solve the problem. However, I'd like to recall a concept which has been explained very well, which is that of participation of the local community. When I'm teaching such topics, I delve into a concept which you've already mentioned today. A territory becomes a competitive, unable to produce values only when within the territory itself we build a community having a strong sense of belonging to the territory itself and collaborates in order to obtain certain results, and which is also ready to improve, to enrich its territory progressively. In some towns, healthy rural partners lead to wrong food habits and eating habits. So some communities tried to improve their condition within towns, making some high quality food available. On the other hand, they are trying to activate, they're trying to promote participation, a full participation of the local communities, avoiding resources coming from the big supply chains. I was thinking about applying this criteria to food while involving the population so that they will contribute to build up a better situation. So if our community provided us with green areas, parks, we probably would not need transportation infrastructures. We would need less buildings, houses, while improving our social lifestyle. Today we think as if whatever is public, does not need to be taken into account, or some people believe we don't need to take care of public things. We need to build up a sense of belonging to our community through education and spreading of information. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pietro. You are one of my favorite guests that I love to involve in such events. We will keep on focusing on such topics because over time you provided us with some interesting ideas. You provided us with a complex definition of sustainability, which is not an easy word. Sometimes we tend to use this word in a very general and vague ways. Everybody speaks about sustainability without really understanding what it means. And the idea of development is related to an active management of conflict. If we do not take into account these aspects, we would miss another opportunity to change our point of view and to activate a new lifestyle, which is not based on the fact of buying an SUV, for instance. We should revise our way of thinking about development, thinking about taking into account the situation in countries like Nepal. Now I'd like to invite Carmelo Polvino, who has recently worked hard to find out this well-being deriving from a correct lifestyle based on quality food. Thank you very much, Natale. Thank you, Francesco. I'm glad to see you after a while. And thank you for allowing me to become one of the presenters of this event. I believe that what you are organizing and what we are organizing, thanks to these events, we can come up with interesting ideas, like my colleague says, we are becoming one brands meet the people. So when brands gather together, gather people together, it means that we are working in the right direction. I remember what you told me some time ago about the idea of a living lab, which means creating a network. Expo 2021 in Dubai is also related to this criteria related to creating mind, creating a future. Network and future are two closely connected terms. We should create a triple net. We should put people together. We should gather people together. President von der Leyen was talking about that recently, has recently talked about that. And sorry, but I have to revise my notes. We should aim to strengthen connections and networks between producers. Father Rovello mentioned the importance of creating networks, religious networks, or other sorts of networks. This year we have had several opportunities to discuss such topics. I have seen so many people involved here today coming to Chef Pass. These are such interesting opportunities, and we have been trying to give importance to all of those living and working in Sicily. Caltanissetta is the heart of Sicily. I'm from Palermo, but I'm here in Caltanissetta as a responsible person of the General Directorate of CEFPAS, which is the Center for Permanent Training of healthcare personnel. Well, CEFPAS is a strong body in the middle of the Mediterranean. CEFPAS is a great and powerful institution with a very strong structure. If we're able to boost it, it may help us reach our goals. If we work on communication and on our brand, there's much that we can do. We've launched the Chef Pass 4K, which is a word that everybody mentioned, even though you didn't mention the English word. 4K means for knowledge. What is more beautiful than knowledge? Ignorance leads to poverty, either economic and spiritual poverty. As a father, I was going at school every morning. My wife and I tried to convey the best principles to our kid. And we tried to play our role of parents in the best way. I tend to see the good things, the good aspects in things. I believe that the municipality, along with Chefpas, along with the religious community, may cooperate in a very good way. We were talking about a neighborhood Professor Armatore, who is another distinguished person, is an enthusiast. He was talking about, well, we were talking about promoting the San Francesco neighborhood, which is a very interesting neighborhood, having a great potential. In the past summer, we took some basketball players here in Caltanissetta, We had we as among the guests we had an 83-year-old basket player who was amazing. Training for human resources is fundamental to reach the knowledge that we need. Last year, we organized a 4K conference. We invited some other counselors, and within a new plan of the institution, we tried to launch a new body, a new energy body. Imagine 70 hectares, a 70-hectare facility. Within a few years, we hope that we will be able to open our new facility, which is a sort of a university campus. And I'm sure we will have given a real gift to the whole community of Caltanissetta. So with the other colleagues, we thought, okay, let's think about future generations. Roberto Sanfilippo is general director of the institution, is always available to create new plans, new projects, new networks. To conclude, in collaboration with the other councillor, Giuseppe Lamezia, we participated in a public competition for Senegal. We will establish a living lab. I don't know if you know about it, but I will keep you posted on this. Thank you very much, Natale. Thank you for your kind words and for your beautiful words. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, Carmelo. Thank you for your contribution. Mr. Lamenza is my chief because Mr. Lamenza is the leader of the Interreg project. For the time being, Beppe is not doing well, and we'd like to convey our warmest greetings to him. I'm aware of what you've done within the Living Lab project through the public competition, and even Jess is a member of our team, is involved in the Living Lab project, which ensures that everything is being carried out in a fair way. By the way, I'd like to ask Professor Laspina. Professor Spina, please when it comes well, I would like to speak about the homophobe, the man who applies knowledge on a daily basis. Before talking about systems with Professor Spina at a geopolitical level within the Mediterranean area, I'd like to speak about governance as well. I'd like to talk about the link between cultural heritage and community. I'd like to invite these two distinguished guests.
E quindi darei intanto la
And I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Salvatore Spinello from Forno Santa Rita, who not only produces bread and other excellent derivatives, but he also help develop a town, and I'd like you to tell us about the festival you've participated in along with the municipality of Caltanissetta within a Mediterranean project. Thank you very much for being here. As you said, my family owns a bakery in the province of Caltanissetta, and every day we try to promote a Mediterranean lifestyle based on high quality ethics and innovation and progress, which should be implemented in a very gradual way without altering the territory we're living in and our well-being. Regarding the Mediterranean diet, we produce several bakery products. Our masterpieces are pasta and bread, and we try to make these products based on certain quality features. For instance, we use non-genetically modified wheat. Um, so to make it healthy for us, our goal is not eating to survive. Our goal, according to our way of thinking, is eating in order to develop a macroeconomy within our territory. We try to develop the economy of our region. As a matter of fact, we purchase products and raw materials for well, to make our bread and pasta, which are made in Sicily, in order to create a pure economy and develop our territory. In that screen, I see three words displayed: the tradition, innovation, and generativity. Tradition is what we try to carry on a daily basis. We try to spread our traditions through a proper food education. As a matter of fact, on a daily basis, we give people the opportunity to come to visit our business and our bakery and see how we work. Emmanuel was one of our guests. He came and visited our bakery, and I believe it was an amazing experience for him, because what we do is different compared to what you can see in large cities. Starting from grabbing wood, we wake up an hour earlier in the morning, and if we do not manage to get the wood, we will not be able to bake our quality bread. The other key word is innovation. My father has always pushed me to focus on something which revolves around the idea of innovation. We represent either the ancient and the modern tradition. So at least we try to represent either ancient and modern traditions. Our oven, we have a large oven, and we use it hundreds of times a day. We try to make well, we try to satisfy our clients. We try to use some machines as well, which allow us to improve the quality of our final product. Therefore, we combine ancient and modern techniques and tools. We believe in a sustainable economy, not in order to become rich and buy a villa by the sea or an SUV. Our aim is that of working based on a sustainable economy while creating employment opportunities. So if we wish, we can we become able to provide employment opportunities. And we want to stand out, and we want to tell the others that we can represent the Mediterranean diet, and we try to promote it on a daily basis. Regarding those three terms, that's it. I'd also like to share something else with you. Today, the term Mediterranean diet has been mentioned several times, which seems to me to be linked to fresh raw materials, to seasonal products. As a child, I was going to do the shopping with my grandfather. My grandmother gave us the shopping list, and we went to the small shop. So we got into the shop, and I told my grandpa, let's not get this product, let's buy it later, because we don't need it right now, because I was noticing that it was not freshly produced. Therefore, we in such circumstances we should think about well, we should avoid buying certain products and selecting fresh products. Therefore, my family, my grandmother, my father helped me understand the importance of what we have and what we represent. Thank you. Thank you, Salvatore. Thank you for this overview. We started from the research center, the applied research, and uh, the responsibility of being part of a community, and the fact of being involved within the protection of traditions, the promotion of innovation. So thank you very much. We will keep focusing on these topics even in the coming days, and within future occasions like this. I'd like to ask if Professor Spina is connected on Zoom. Good afternoon, I'm here. Sorry for make you waiting. I'd like to thank you very much for being here with us today. We've dealt with a variety of issues related to local territories and innovation. And on how we can take care of our territory and our local material and immaterial heritage. We should focus on a different view, on a different perspective of these ideas, and we try to do this through a different lifestyle within the Mediterranean area. Each territory sees these ideas, these concepts in a different way. What may you add about that does a Mediterranean community exist, or should we create a group of different communities and lifestyles? Please, Professor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I must apologize with all of you, because I would have very much liked to be in Caltanissetta with you. Unfortunately, I had an accident. I cannot drive, and I had to necessarily stay at home and opt for an online meeting. I'd like to thank all of you. I would like to thank Councillor Nicoletti. I'd like to thank Beppe, all of you. I don't personally know the other discussants of tonight, but we will have a chance to meet again in the future. Community, I'm a historian. And so even if it sounds paradoxical, it's the historians of today that will provide an answer to what the future will look like. For the Mediterranean area, this future can be of excellence. Only, however, if we become aware of what we really are. Answering your questions, your curiosity, what can we add? I mean, the Mediterranean area has always been a community. It's not a different, anything different from that. Fernand Braudel referred to the Mediterranean area as a fluid continent, a universe which encompasses beauty and human beings. With their own specificities, everyone contributes to the creation of a Mediterranean identity. The Mediterranean identity is something that only belongs to us, nobody else, and we are envied. Think of the Chinese. They're doing everything possible to get hold of our heritage, of our both material and immaterial wealth. I'm particularly referring to the cultural wealth of the Mediterranean basin. Our Mediterranean community has national, provincial, local characteristics. It's nature that marked our destiny, our fate. We are something united. We are an entity against something which is trying to sneak into our lives. Of course, it's not a negativity take-home message. It doesn't mean we shouldn't open the doors to others, and we cannot avoid appreciating other political, cultural, and social realities of the world. We have to form a community, a global community. Our Mediterranean area is a community constantly forming throughout history, thanks to many experiences that have actually marked all this path, negatively and positively. Culturally speaking, we cannot forget the places that they come from, be they small or larger. The Mediterranean area gives us some kind of identity that we have to safeguard and protect. I am responsible for technology development applied to historical research. I'm called a digital historian. Within this new process, within the new frontiers of digitalization, of digital development, and we call it 4.0, but also 5.0 will come. I mean, these new frontiers will probably help us understand who we are as a network. We are a network within this community. Every one of us is a joint within this chain, contributing to its wealth. We cannot appreciate how large this community is because to many of us, there are still limitations. Thanks to history, science, IT, and thanks to this technology group, which will be the future starting from tomorrow, we can certainly understand which direction the Mediterranean area should go and where it comes from. I mean, we are proud of a wealth which is different from that of other cultures. Thanks to this process of digitalization, hoping that there will be a recovery plan nationwide that will implement a true digitalization process, which is fruitful and which doesn't stop at the mere definition of terms. So thanks to digitalization, we can understand what we are and we can further build on this basis. It is true that we can't go back to certain lifestyles. Of course, we cannot go back to driving to, we cannot go back to riding horses instead of driving, but certainly thanks to the assets we have, we will be able to develop in a different way thanks to digitalization. The heritage that sometimes we're not even familiar with can be enriched and enrich us as a community. We are a community where there shouldn't be differences between the North and the South, whether we talk about Europe or Italy. And thanks to digitalization, we'll be able to overcome these limits. This is what the future looks like. We have to enhance the value of the past in our future, following guidelines. Every one of us must learn how to use these guidelines. Entrepreneurs, businessmen producing bread, down to the producers, the farmers harvesting wheat. I mean, all these people will be asked to introduce innovation so that we bring the identity of the Mediterranean area at the apex of the world community. We shouldn't think that the West is beyond the, or overseas, beyond the Atlantic. We can get hold of this Western culture thanks to our heritage, which was forgotten in many ways. We can go back to being at the apex of the world community and be the driving force of future development. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to ask our audience to give you a sign of appreciation. Thank you, Professor Spina. After mentioning Fernand Braudel, I would like to thank you with the words of another thinker of the Mediterranean area. The Mediterranean sea is not just geography. Matvejevic said Europe was conceived in the Mediterranean. Oftentimes, however, Europe does not conceive the Mediterranean Sea anymore. So thanks very much for your kind words, aiming at giving back identity and pride to the Mediterranean area, which precedes the European identity itself. Thanks for your suggestions. Thanks for your interesting insights. I think that we would require days and days of discussion, many more speakers, many more books, many more suggestions and contributions. I agree with Pietro Columba. Richness is complexity, and biocomplexity turns the Mediterranean area into an exceptional one with 20% biodiversity compared to the rest of the world. Since we have to draw some conclusions, I believe that this afternoon, in this afternoon session, we have been in good hands. And trying to summarize your talk, I think that we should leave it in the hands of the president of Italia Nostra, Mr. Gianni. Thanks very much. I'm not really a man who likes being brief. I like being provocative, and I like generating some chaos in an established order. Thank you very much for introducing me and having me here. I think this topic is very close to my interests. I'm responsible for cultural heritage, landscape, and I've always loved my area, Sicily. I decided to stay here. This is the first step that many of us made immediately after completing our studies at university. Unfortunately, many young people, many students, many graduates want to leave. The best of them leave, and this is a terrible fact. And I know this because I continue teaching. Anyway, we stayed and somehow contributed to the development of Sicily, or at least limited the damage. Let me mention a few things that we do in Italia Nostra. Our themes are farming and urban crops, parks, protected area, restoration, prevention, forgotten railways, tourism, and many more. Implementing Article 9 of the Constitution, which says that the Republic has to protect the artistic and natural heritage of the country. We are about to, well, this article is about to be changed, adding environmental protection and animals. You know, the landscape concepts includes and encompasses everything. Instead, the concept of environment is a bit more vague. Ansunto, a philosopher from Caltanissetta, used to say that, environment is a word that says nothing, while landscape is a much more precise word, also encompassing the environment. Let me mention the fact that our task at Italia Nostra is not just preserving all the monuments, beauties, and other works. We have a new model of development which relies on enhancing our heritage in Italy. in order to improve the quality of life and employment. In other words, our aims coincide, they correspond to the themes and principles that have led to the development of this lifestyle park. You know, what is the definition like? Can you tell me? Well, it's the park of Mediterranean lifestyles. Well, I don't really know, but certainly this is an attempt at giving it a strong identity, but I don't know whether this is really the right definition. Anyway, my topic now, community. Community is similar to peace. There can be no community unless there's peace and justice. This is a fundamental principle. Our societies are often based on injustice, privileges, ambiguities, contradictions. Let me mention, for example, the region of Sicily, the local regional government, you know, as far as cultural heritage is concerned. In Sicily, we hear a lot about landscape tourism, beauty, but ultimately the drafts, the bills which are submitted to Parliament are not based on these principles. For example, usually an attempt is made at deregulating the existing rules, the landscape plans, etc. The regional government has a power to do so. The superintendents, the specialists instead should have this responsibility, because one thing is knowledge, as was said before, and one thing is having power and ruling. There are ambiguities and contradictions. They're really very strong. I believe that in a general project, we should try and work as we do in Italia Nostra. FAI is the National Trust for the Environment, restoring abandoned places. Instead, we do something different, trying to affect the ethics principles as well. It's a challenging task because we don't have that many friends, but some has to play this role within the community, right? Well, the word community is a beautiful one. It's also difficult. I think that the communities, or let me step back, when we were Christians, there was a community. When we were peasants, there was a community. When we were miners, even at that time, there was a community. But then at that point, with the early industrialization process, some tears occurred and we were no longer such a community. Before going deep into this concept, I'd like to refer to something good and positive, if you like. Perhaps we have a lot of communities. Let me mention Aidone, the experience of Aidone. It's a village next to Enna. There's a beautiful museum there. It's a regional archaeology museum in Aidone. Some days ago, I met a woman, Raffiota, Mrs. Raffiota. She's an archaeologist, a very good one. I thought she would be here. She's currently the municipal councillor for culture in Aidone. She's really a very determined person. She was telling us of a community that changed in Aidone. They changed and became defenders of the heritage, lovers of their own heritage. In the past, there used to be grave robbers only. You know that the head of Hades and other statues came back to Aidone from the United States. They had been sold by grave robbers in the Morgantina site. So these works of art came back here. and a new pride developed, a love for their own cultural heritage. All this was shared by a community. It was not just something of the grave robbers that met at the pub and were proud of their robbings sold abroad elsewhere. I like this definition of a community which, from being grave robbers, became a community loving its own heritage. This is what we are supposed to do, because well, we were a community of speculation, of commodification, because Sicily is a beautiful area with big wounds, if you like, but we've gone through speculations in a beautiful landscape, you know, building speculations, farming speculations in all fields. There were speculative attempts. So we have to understand this concept of common good, of common value, of health, well-being, and how can we possibly do this? One word which is very much used today is ecologic transition. I would rather use the word ecologic conversion, because I think we have to combine ethics with spirituality in a way. It's only if you combine the two that you succeed. I wrote something on ecologic spirituality 15 years ago. After all, you know, the themes have always been the same. The situation has worsened now. We're faced with a possible collapse of the whole system where we live, of the environment, of the landscapes where we live. So it's really a challenging situation, but I think this conversion is necessary. Our government is a qualified government. I'm referring to the Draghi government, but I think that they are sometimes too technical and aseptic, forgetting the humanistic approach, broadly speaking. I believe that politicians and politics should also educate. All our policymakers have forgotten this. You know, politics is a form of school and education to make people aware of the fullness of life, which is not just utilitas, but also beauty. A more human dimension in life. You know, the GDP is not enough. Certainly, we cannot reduce ecological or energy transition to photovoltaic and fields and wind farms. As I wrote several times, we in central Sicily run a major risk, because there are major German speculators that are aiming at producing photovoltaic energy from farming in central Sicily. That's a risk we're running. I also pointed out that the superintendents of Caltanissetta, which boasted important archaeologists in their management, have not done the same as in Enna. They identified some sites with constraints, but not that many as in Enna. So the sites, certain sites were completely neglected. There is a sort of wound in the plan that Caltanissetta has put in place. I think all landscape plans should be analyzed by the local government, because Many local governments, when they hear about the restrictions, constraints, and landscape plan, well, they consider this as some kind of limitation, but limits give a meaning to possibilities. Let me go back to a Greek concept of limit. The whole culture went through this, and the bridge in the Strait of Messina is actually a sort of a way of going against this limit. Presumptuous engineers ignore these limits because of presumption. In the Enlightenment or post-Enlightenment period, the idea was that any obstacle, any limit can be overcome through projects, through plans, which sometimes or very often turn out to be fallacious. So I believe that this concept of limit should be useful to us. It gives us, again, a Christian sense of things, a Greek and Western idea of our origins, pushing us towards utopia, venturing in the grounds of utopia, because this is what we're talking about also with reference to this project. What we are saying is not just empty political words, as we hear every day, especially at regional level. We can imagine something different. We can dream of something different and design and plan a different reality. So this is a major cultural and political project. We do hope that our policymakers understand this without putting obstacle to this. Frank Lloyd Wright said that style is what will be and what we will be in this process. And of course, everything is up to human beings. I think utopia is a fundamental requirement, being able to dream, to have imagination, and also the sense of limit is fundamental. Thank you very much.
Allora, avevamo pensato che questo potesse essere un...
We thought this could be a summary of all of those feelings that this small community has produced, but it was not like this really, because there are some other fundamental issues to deal with. I'd like to mention some key words which may give us some further contributions in the coming days. I like the idea of complexity. I like the idea of a conflict because each social process stems from a conflict which later focused on the interest of a community, which, according to the words of the president, has lacked ethics. However, it considers the current government as an emblematic government of an important approach. Therefore, to conclude, if we should take into account that we are running the risk of a decline of a scientist culture, which has no citizenship within a lifestyle which is founded, is based on human principles and which focuses on the vision of a term which is that of the management of common good heritage, which should be considered fundamental now and in the future. We should be co-creators for a future based on schemes and patterns, living schemes which are not induced by multinationals. Let's get our slowness back and let's get inspired by the Mediterranean diet. Mr. Nicoletti, up to you for the conclusions. Thank you very much for this other day in which we discussed other aspects regarding the park. I feel stronger now after this day, having had such distinguished guests. Let me just mention two concepts that may summarize the essence of this day. We need a vast area project which should be very ambitious, like the professor said this morning. The more ambitious, the more it is likely to be successful. The second concept is that we need a community made of individuals. When it comes to communities, oftentimes we refer to political aspects, whereas we must focus on a community made on a group of individuals able to promote their own territories and which can turn it into a common shelter able to address all of the issues that all of you have mentioned today. Archeo Club Italia has joined our project together with Stazione for Culturale, and this strategic project is able to come up with results and to gather together people, allowing us to share our opinions, our views, even through criticism. We've had the chance to stay together here, and this is the sense of a community. We need to awake this community in order to focus on this Mediterranean lifestyle and develop the future we are thinking about. Otherwise, we will keep following paths which never cross, just like many parallel paths which will never um, link or cross with each other. So the park is a framework where everybody works hard and share their own views. This was an opportunity to exchange opinions and become stronger. Together we can. Like the Archbishop said yesterday, and on the first day, on Saturday, um, I invite all of you to listen to the Archbishop's presentation. He said that you have no alternatives. Wake up and work together, because if you do not act in this way, we will not give a better future to our children. I'm a counselor, and my aim is that of launching a project for the sake of my children and all of the future generations. So please stay together. Please support us, even those uh, who have joined us remotely. Therefore, thank you very much. Thank you, Natale, for this, for being the chairman of this day, for this event. Please do not miss today's conference. We will deal with other aspects related to our project. We must participate in it. Francesco, have schools been invited? What? Yes, this depends on the topics. This depends on the different topics. We aim to govern complexities, like Butera says in his book. Thank you very much. Also, in the name, on behalf of my children, let me just thank each of you for your fundamental contributions and exchange of opinions, which will characterize the following days as well. Thank you very much. I'd like to remind you that there are two Facebook pages where people, users are enjoying these conferences. Today's event can be watched and streaming on YouTube. Eventually, I'd like to thank all of the workers as usual. So I'd like to thank Concetta Cataldo for or, being a pillar for her hard work. Everybody gave us positive feedback, including those who joined us remotely. And I'd also like to thank the interpreters. And I'd like to say that I'd like to thank all those who promote our territories. Thank you very much. This means to build up networks. Thank you once again. I'll see you tomorrow.